next step in my build is part 34 of the instructions, working on the tail. I'm building an RAF GR1, so I do need to cut that hole out there. Check your references. This is a particular weak point in the kit. There's always been a sink mark in this part. I'm going to clean this part up before I build the tail. I can either scrape clean or sand it. It's much easier to access that seam before the tail is joined together. And the next step is just go around the whole of the tail and check for any ejector pins. There are some at the back, and particularly nasty one at the front where the air scoop is, so just take some time going around removing any raised ejector pin. And some of the attachment lugs, they can cause a problem as well, so I tend to remove those. The next thing I do is attach the tail to the upper fuselage. I do this now, I think it's just easier to access it and get a good join. And what I'm going to do is run some glue down there and work on the seam on the spine. This is the most difficult one to fix afterwards. I'm trying to avoid a step there. So I will accept a bit of a gap at the bottom of the tail and make sure I've got a good join there. I'm on step 15 of the instructions now, parts B39 and 40. Test fit them both. One will go in on the wrong side, but if you put them both down and then glue, you'll see that they are handed and they fit better one way rather than the other. And then I'm moving to step 21A of the instructions. The instructions have you fit these parts after the wing. I find it's easy enough to put them in beforehand. Again, lots of cleanup required here. They're fairly badly moulded, particularly on the one that I've got. Couple of dabs of glue and then some tweezers to clamp them, and you'll get a good join there. Fitting the air brakes in a closed position, I find it's actually easier to leave off parts A38 and A37, so I'm looking at step 23 in the instructions here, and if I don't put the interior part of the air brakes on, I can get a lot more adjustment and it's easier just to get a good fit there. With the interior part of the air brakes fitted, I tend to find you have to remove some of the detail from inside the air brake. There's nothing structural here, so the interior parts can be left off. So I basically skip step 23 in the instructions completely. Okay, the next part of my build is to build the intakes. I take the intakes and attach them now. Okay, so what I've done is I've glued them at the top, but I've left the bottom part of the intake loose. So the steps in the instructions are all over the place here. It's just, I can't really reference you back to the instructions, but just take all the intake parts, glue them at the top, and then what you can do is you can insert the doors afterwards, as long as you've not glued the bottom there, and everything will fit in without any problems. And once you've got those doors in, you can get the glue in the back. Now, this is a part where I've made a little bit of a mistake, I'll be honest. I cut off the wings incorrectly and left the tabs on the sprue. To be honest, after putting some plastic card in, I think I've got a much neater part. They're quite vaguely moulded. So there is the opportunity perhaps in the next time I do this build, only with the wing flaps closed, is to use little plastic tabs. And then it's time to bring the wings together and then test fit the upper part of the fuselage. There's nothing to report really on the wings. The eagle-eyed viewers will spot that there was some sort of butchery going on with one of the wings. What I was doing was I was experimenting to see if I can cut the wings and have them so they attach at the end of the construction, but it's not really an option in this kit, so I do recommend fitting the wings at this point. And then what I need to do is just go around and then just double check I've got no sprue attachment points in the way, and then just a little bit of a bulkhead there, just shaving that down. It perhaps wasn't glued properly at the bottom, but there's just a little bit of time checking everything is okay and you'll get a good join there. What I have done off camera is on the intake part that fits to the bottom part of the fuselage, the intake parts that fit inside, there is a lot of thinning of plastic required. If you are having a step, then just thin the part of the intake that's with the bottom part of the rear fuselage, the bit that gets covered by the intake parts that are attached to the upper part of the fuselage.